We have Terry. She said, or he or she, Terry is I don't know, says, you use the side of the square brush when you pull, or do you use the...
Yeah, that's correct. I should have mentioned that before. So I would like to demonstrate it, but my brush is so tiny, so you won't be able to see.
Okay, I can actually click on you and make you larger if you want to do that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let me get this little brush out so I can show you.
And while you're doing that, we had another question. Someone asked, what tip do you use for the flowers and leaves?
A tip 2.
Tip 2. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so can you see this brush, kind of? So if you have a square tip brush, like, I don't use it flat. I turn it on its side, so I'm using just the edge of the brush. So that way you can get more, you know, it just gives you more definition than if you were to use it flat this way. So you just want to turn it and just use the very thin edge of the brush to do the brush embroidery.
Perfect.
And then while we're here, I just have this, the scribe tool, which is what I was talking about before that I basically use for everything. It's just a needle with a handle, and it's just so, like, really helpful for everything. So that's the scribe tool that I'm always talking about on my blog.
Okay. And so that's what you used to, if you were not going to freehand and you wanted to actually use a pattern or a template, you would just use that, put that up and kind of scribe around.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you would use that for in this situation?
I use it for flooding. I use it to, if once you flood the cookie, you know, there's always going to be little spaces that you miss and it's uneven. So you can use the scribe tool to evenly distribute the icing and make it even all around the edges.
Okay. Get out any bubbles that might be in there.
Yeah, air bubbles, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. We have Linda asks, what is the best icing to use?
Well, I use royal icing basically for everything. It really depends what you're doing. Like if I'm just making something, you know, for a birthday party, I'll just do a cake with buttercream, just a very simple Swiss meringue buttercream. But royal icing is just so versatile. You can use it for everything. So royal icing is #1 for me.
Perfect. Yeah, you know, there's different recipes for royal icing, but yeah, good royal icing is it's a good one for cookies, especially. Yeah. So we have someone asks, Debbie Beasley. She asks, how many of these cookie boxes can you do in a day?
Well, if I were to break it down into the steps, I could do, maybe 8 or 10, probably. It's not very many, because the brush embroidery takes a really long time.
Well, and you have to think about the fact also that you're making 6 different cookies per, per cookie. So. Yeah.
So basically I can do a dozen brush embroidered cookies in an hour or so, but you know, you have to factor in the time that you need to rest because you don't want your hand to become injured. So yeah. Just try to take it easy.
Yep. All right. We have, let's see. Carolyn asks, sugar cookies seem to get stale quickly. How do you keep them fresh?
Once my cookies are dry, the icing is completely dry, I wrap them up in cellophane bags, and I heat seal them. So they stay fresh for about 2 weeks after I've shipped them out because the air is completely sealed out of the bag. So that's the best way. I mean, if you don't have a heat sealer, you can tape them shut. You just have to make sure that you've folded down the bag so that no air can get inside. I wouldn't recommend really storing them in a container if they're not heat sealed because there's always, air flowing through that. So you just want to make sure that there's, no air coming into the bag.
Okay, so where do you find bags like this that you use?
I get my bags from Nashville Wraps.
Okay.
And then I just bought my heat sealer from Uline. It's just a little tabletop one, really simple. But Nashville Wraps has great bags, so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll be equipped to make some cute cookies for Mother's Day. Okay, we have Sil from Montreal. She asks 2 questions. So I guess I'll just ask them in portions.
Okay.
Hey, given that beautiful cookie designs can take a few days to complete fully, what do you recommend to do to let the icing dry but still conserve as much freshness as possible?
Well, that's part of the reason that I added the agave into the cookie, because before when I wasn't using it, I would have to leave my cookies out for a day or two to, with all the decoration that's going on, and they would lose a lot of their moisture. So I added that in, and it keeps it, like soft and tasting fresh. But I've actually had some questions because some people prefer a crunchier cookie. So then the trick to that is just before you decorate them, just leave them out for a little bit longer than you normally would. So let some of that moisture, evaporate into the air, however it works. But I added it in so that it would remain, fresh tasting for longer.
Okay, great. So if you start your flood work a little bit sooner before you let the cookie completely, dry out, that sugar or the royal icing is actually going to hold in some of that moisture.
Yeah, it sort of seals it up so you can keep it nice and soft for a little bit longer.
Good. Okay. And then her second question, also from the point a cookie is finished, what would you say is the shelf life?
After I wrap them up, I give it about 2 weeks. So whenever I send out an order, I put a little note in my box. It says, the date that they'll be best eaten by. So it's usually 2 weeks.
Perfect. Okay. Let's see. Someone asks, what tip did you use to pipe the mini roses?
Oh, the tiny ones? It was a 59S, and it was a Wilton tip.
Yeah, that's a little curved one.
Yeah. I have a video on the site about making royal icing roses, and I use a petal tip 104, which gives you it's easier to work with, but it still is, pretty small actually. So either one is a nice tip to use.
All right, perfect. Okay, here's a question. She said, I missed the first part of the interview. Was there anything in particular in your training while at Wilton that is a big part of your success now?
I would say it's not one thing in particular, but just being there in general, I absorbed a lot of information and learned a lot. Just overall, it really, it was just a really great experience. There wasn't really anything that I could pinpoint. So it gave me experience in all kinds of different cake decorating things and photography even. So yeah, there was a lot of.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Things like that, you do learn from things like that, but I think more than anything, you get confidence from it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I know that when I took my my first little Wilton classes, I thought I didn't know anything, because everything that I knew, I was self-taught. I had just read in a book and practiced. And so I thought, I just don't know anything, so I need to go take this class. Well, I went and took the class and found out that I knew everything already, and so, because I had been reading through all the Wilton yearbooks. That's all I had known, all I had, and so I read through all the Wilton yearbooks that I could possibly get through, practiced everything that I possibly could, and I got there and took this class and realized, hey, I already know all this. This is cool,
Right.
So I think that if you're actually practicing and doing a lot of this stuff at home, you're going to find that you already know all this stuff, and it's just going to boost your confidence level more than anything. But yes, you do learn a lot too, and there's always those little tips. I think that's another thing that I think those are the two most valuable things that you learn at things like this. There's little tips here and there that you learn that make things so much faster and so much easier and
definitely.
so much like, oh, why didn't I do that before? You know? So, yeah. And Wilton is really good that way. I like that. Yeah. Okay. Rebecca asks, she's from the UK, so I'm assuming that when she says biscuit, she's referring to the cookie. Yeah. So she says, when baking the biscuit, would you bake until golden brown along the edges or until firm to the touch?
I like my cookies to be a little bit brown around the edges, so I would let them get brown. I find that they taste better that way. I like to have a little bit of that, almost like a caramelization, you know, that happens during that process. So I really like that richness that it brings out if you let the cookies get brown on the edges. Okay,
great. Okay, here's one that always stumps everybody. June from Pennsylvania asks, beautiful work. How do you go about pricing because of the time involved? And also, she missed the beginning, so how large is the box?
Oh, the box is 4 inches tall by 3 inches wide. And then pricing that's a big issue for everybody, I've noticed. Especially, I see a lot in forums, like people are always, you know, what do I price for this? Because you go into a grocery store and they charge $5.75 for a cookie that, you know, maybe they didn't spend too much time on, and you're having trouble getting $3 a cookie, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So you really, it depends on your market, really. If you can, you just have to charge what you're worth. Like, you can't sell yourself short. And if we all start raising our prices and charging what we're worth, it's going to really change things. So I really, you know, I would really like to see people start charging what their time is worth, because we all know that hours and hours and hours go into these cookies, and, you know, we just have to make it known that it's an art. It's not, you know, just bang out a million cookies in a week and that's it. It takes a lot of work. So it really depends on your, you know, who you're selling to, but so
amen.
I don't have a straight answer.
Seriously, amen. Everybody needs to, you know, make sure that you charge what you're worth. If you're not making the amount of money that you need, you know, per hour plus your product, you're undercutting yourself and everybody else. You know? So make sure you're charging what you're worth. If someone's not willing to pay for that, then, you know, sorry.
Yeah.
It's not worth it to give away your work. If, you know, it's just not worth it. So, yes. Amen. Seriously. If I could say that every training that we do, be firm on your prices, guys.
Yeah.